Welcome to the Vortex, where I'm live with Michael Virus. I know
Woohoo!
I know we had the British version of Michael Virus, but now we have Breath of Virus, and so
This is all my natural hair.
yeah. So I guess you don't even need your magic glasses, or do you have your magic glasses?
Oh, well, I have my hermeneutic of continuity
Ah,
glasses.
there we go.
I have my who's a perv glasses. I try not to look in the mirror with those. But, you know, uh, no,
Yeah.
we're just here to encourage you to spend, spend, spend. Come on. It's Christmas. Time to give, time to dig deep and give to the John Son of Thunder program. Look at him. You get all this entertainment and information and you pay nothing. Come on. Give it up.
And where lies and falsehood.
Oh yeah, them things.
I don't know,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
But
I don't
where
know.
lies are spoken and falsehoods are, um, yeah. Anyway,
Encouraged, maybe encouraged. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about what. We're not
No,
really. We're not
no,
really
we're
here to
not.
talk about your money. We're here to
No,
talk about something else. We're here to
no.
talk about a pope, and it's not going to be the current one. Or,
Right?
well, yeah, that's a little bit controversial.
Is it?
We'll
What's
just say whenever Pope Francis, there's been another report that he is in poor health, and I don't know. I guess whenever you throw something at a wall, it's gonna stick eventually.
well? He's 85. Yeah.
So if you say Francis, he won't make it the next year. He won't make it past the year 2020. At least so you're gonna be right at some point.
Exactly. And what's for being wrong? What are they going? Well, everyone tunes out. And well, of course, we have so many viewers. Our reach is international. No chance of that even bothering us.
Yeah, and I guess everyone's kind of ready to move on from Francis. I mean,
Yes, I think even his allies are ready to move on. It's like, really, do we have to have more of this guy? you know?
yeah. And so before we get into the bulk of this program, I just wanted to point out because I was talking about this young cardinal
Mhm.
occasionally from Africa, and he has a chance at becoming the next pope. And
He
here's why: his
does.
name is Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo Bensungu. He's age 61, and he's on the C9. That is Pope Francis's cardinal advisors, and so he's kind of on the inside.
Well, how many people are on the C9 now? It's a committee of 9, but there aren't 9 people.
There's not 9.
No, I think it's 7 right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, because he retired some of them
Yes.
uh, because he's like, well, you reached 80, so I'll retire you. So there were 3 of them that he retired. I think one was Cardinal Pell, actually.
Yeah, and then there was
Um,
that. No, he was never on the C9, was he?
yeah,
Wow. Go
yeah,
figure. Yeah, and yeah, he got a lot done, or not. But he's selling
well,
that book in 3 parts. Good for him. Good for him.
yeah.
And I think he just officially became a non-voting member of the conclave. I think he just turned 80.
So that's why he was retired by Pope Francis, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
After the little unpleasantness down under, yes.
yeah, and then let's see here. This okay. So Cardinal Basungu is from Kinshasa, Congo, and
The
so the
Congo.
Congo, I believe, is a pretty large country in Africa.
It is.
It's is it sort of like central, maybe like North Africa? Is it
No,
okay?
no, it's not North Africa. It's sub-Saharan Africa. Uh, I believe you said it's from Kinshasa. That means it's the old Zaire, which is what
Oh,
older folks like me. Yeah.
so that's pretty far south.
Yes, it's very
All
far
right.
south. More Catholics in that country than in France.
Well, there you go. And let's see here. So I have a little bit, just a short biography on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
entered the Order of Friars Minor Capuchin, which is Franciscan, where he made his initial vows in 1981 and his perpetual profession in 1987. He was ordained in 1988, a priest. He later obtained a degree in moral theological studies from the Alphonsian Academy in Rome. So he's got connections to Rome. And Pope John Paul II appointed him Bishop of Bokongu Ikela on November 22nd, 2004. So he's been a bishop for quite a while.
Yeah.
Even though he's 61, I mean, a lot of bishops weren't even appointed bishop at age 61. I mean, they were, you know. So he's been a bishop for over 15 years, and
Yeah. Well, they had to go with young guys there because, they were all converted by who is that guy? Oh yeah, Archbishop Lefebvre. Yes, he's the one that went through Africa like a savannah fire, and turned Africa into the continent with the most Catholics.
yes, and this cardinal, he is a big fan of the environment, saving the environment.
Oh, good.
So that might serve him well in the next conclave.
Yes, it will.
Just the thought. That and his age.
Yeah. Well, there's always that thing. It's easier to put an old man in because, and they said this about Bergoglio, he'll only be there for 4 years. So, it won't be that bad because he'll be gone. But yeah, you put in a 61-year-old or a 59-year-old like Wojtyła, you're going to get somebody for a long time.
Yes, but you also know you're going to get a lasting legacy. I mean, that's 30 years. I mean, if you're a pope for 20 to 30 years, that's massive, and your legacy is going to be...
Yeah. Your legacy, though, is your legacy. It's what you did. And really, John Paul II had that really long pontificate, and he is remembered for the good and the not so good that he did. So, I mean, it's not as long as the reign of Ratzinger, who started with Vatican II as a periti, and then went all the way up through to become Wojtyła's number 2 guy. He wasn't really the number 2 guy. It's my personal theory. And then, of course, he stepped right into the main office, and then he stepped right back out.
Well, and here's a possibility. I mean, Pope Francis' health is coming under question.
Yes.
What if Benedict survives?
What up?
Past Francis.
Well, first of all, I think it's going to happen. I honestly think Benedict, unless Francis sends Ganswine over with a pillow, I think Ratzinger gets to stare at the lifeless corpse of Bergoglio. I just think that's going to happen. That's me. But it doesn't matter because as much as he insists he is a pope, although there is no such thing as a pope, as in, multiple popes, although he's been very honest about he thinks he's a pope, but he's not. And believe me, who's the Camerlengo, the Irish guy?
Farrell.
Yes, he's going to make sure that he's even sealed up tighter in that little monastery building than he normally is. And Ganswine may have to physically sit on him. Not that it's going to take that much to keep him down because he's 94. But no, he's not going to get anywhere close to the Casa Santa Marta, which I assume is where they're going to have it. Although I don't know, because that's why John Paul II had it built. But so we're easing into the topic, and the topic is the church is a mess. How are we going to fix it?
Yeah. Patty says nowadays the Pope is just, I'm assuming it's the Pope is just one step away from sainthood.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't imagine he's barely going to assume room temperature before someone's going to say, oh, I got a royal flush because I prayed to Francis, so yeah, he'll get all sorts of card tricks.
Yes. from the Father James Martins. But we talked about legacy, and we talked about legacy, and we're getting to that point where every pope has an opportunity to create a legacy, whether they're pope for 30 days
Yeah.
or pope for 30 years. So let's just get into the show topic, Brett.
Yes.
What's it going to take?
What's it going to take? Okay, well, first of all, there's the obviously it's going to take a miraculous intervention. And I say that miraculous intervention, let's say it happens at the conclave. Let's say, so, you know, there's Bergoglio going on to his great reward, his final judgment. Ooh. And you know, like you say, like say with this cardinal from Africa, let's say they say he made all these cardinals from Nowhereville, you know,
Yes.
and they're all over the world, and most of them have no Vatican experience, and most of them don't know each other, and you know they rule over 80,000 Catholics, or they're like auxiliary bishops as far as the size of their flock,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're all going to come to Rome, eat the fine food, and they're going to be campaigned. You know, everyone's going to like, oh, you need this guy. You need this guy. He's the guy. And they'll have all the reasons and everything. So we're hoping that somewhere in there, maybe there'll be, two camps, and they'll have to agree to disagree and pick that guy from Africa, for example, or maybe a known quantity who knows his way around the Vatican, like Seurat, for example. And so he is. It could happen. It could happen. So he ascends the throne, although we don't have a throne because he's not a king. Supposedly he's not coronated like he used to be. But so Cardinal Seurat becomes Pope Right Guy the First. So let's go. Am I there? Am I okay? Let's go with what I call the Dallas Dream season version of how things are going to get better.
Okay, so what was his name? I missed that.
I just called him Pope Do the Right Thing Guy.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe he'll style himself Francis II just to give us all a good scare.
We'll call him Pope Basil.
Sure. Go east. I like it. Let's go. Let's go.
All right.
Go east. Okay, so there he is, and it's all great. And so what he does is he assembles an imperfect council. Now, a perfect council would be the conclave. It's all the voting cardinals. An imperfect conclave is not all of them, but enough. And I would say specifically you invite all the cardinals who were not named by Francis. Those guys can sit outside and do whatever. But the ones who are named by, Benedict and John Paul II, they all get together and they decide, because they have great faith and they believe in the Catholic Church, that Pope Francis, either through his bogus election, which can't be proven, it's just an allegation made by a dumb layperson like myself, or by his obstinate, manifest, and formal heresy, which everyone says, oh, it's not manifest. Oh, it's not formal. Oh, yeah, lies. They're lying to you. They're experts, so you can believe that. But he is, and at some point, they're going to say, in my little dream world, he was an anti-pope. He was never pope. And the last 8 years, guess what? They didn't happen. It was all like Dallas season 9. Now, Dallas is an old TV show from way back for old people. And in the 9th season, there's a character named Bobby Ewing. He was like the good guy of the show, and he gets killed at the beginning of the season. Then they have a whole season, and they bury him and they move on. Wife remarries, et cetera, et cetera. Season 10 opens up, and the first shot of the camera is Bobby Ewing stepping out of the shower, and he's talking to his wife. And she said, I thought you were dead. Oh, he said, no, that was just a dream. It was just a dream. That never really happened. And that's what we're going to do. That's what in my dream, in my dream pontificate, the whole the whole anti-pope Bergoglio thing just never happened. All that nastiness he did to the Franciscan friars of the Immaculate, to the Knights of Malta, to to Cor Oran's Abu Dhabi statement. It's all never happened. And we'll do one of the favorite 20th century, really, corporate tricks, reapplying for your job. So basically everyone says, all right, all the resignations on my desk. And we're going to go through and you can interview and we'll see if you keep your job as a cardinal or a bishop. We're just going to do it that way. And if anyone doesn't like it, we have to get out the old shillelagh. We have to get out the one thing that they never want to talk about. The one thing they won't do to McCarrick. Excommunication. It's medicinal. And the medicine is long overdue. 5 or 10 guys get thrown out of the church and they'll get the message. And that would be like, that's like the dream. Now, is any of that going to happen? Absolutely not.
Not for a while.
No, exactly right. Not for a while. We're going to have to, do some Franciscan accompaniments. And we're going to have to, weasel in, just like the weasels that blew up the church at Vatican II had been trying since, the pontificate of Pope Pius X to modernize the church. And he stood right in their way and didn't let it happen. And, they just kept on at it. They kept on creeping around and getting it done. And then at Vatican II, not led by, but certainly a handy lieutenant would, of course be Ratzinger, guy to help get that done. He wasn't the guy that actually pulled the microphones, but he was down with it. Still is to this day. He did that whole book-length interview with Peter Seewald, and Vatican II, it's great. And where did all these cardinals and bishops come from? They came from the even-handed policy of John Paul II and Benedict XVI. You name a conservative guy, you name a liberal guy. So, and you see what that has gotten us. It's gotten us all liberal guys. I mean,
yeah, because
only at the top, only where it counts.
Yeah, well, the conservatives are more like moderates, and the liberals are more like extreme communists.
Right.
So,
exactly. We've gone way there. So we've got Amoris Laetitia, where you can get divorced and remarried, and it's okay if you say it's okay, and if the priest is the priest kind of has to agree, but it doesn't really have to agree because you can just priest shop. It doesn't matter. I mean, the death penalty has been part of the Catholic Church since forever, until John Paul II set the table and said, only in the most extreme circumstances. And Francis says, nah, we're against the death penalty now because I said so. So, I mean, we could go through chapter and verse of all the mess that Francis has made. And of course, he's got the Synodal Synod on Synodality coming up, which is the sneak version of Vatican III. Only we all agreed this time. It's like the ultimate gaslight. So there's lots of nasty things that have already happened. He's trying to schedule nasty things like his synodal synod. So we have to stop it. So, I mean, like I say, that was my dream season version of the Pope with some trusted lieutenants going through and knocking heads. That's what really needs to happen. That's not what's going to happen. But even if we get Francis II, Tagle, the favorite of the Chinese, or Zuppi is the new favorite, the San Guido guy. They love immigrants. They love immigrants. Or some, or one of the other merry band of mignons around Francis. And he comes out and he says, "Call me Francis II." And I'm not going to live in the papal apartments either, or whatever. That still amazes me. Francis has gotten away. Let's have mass and let's not venerate the Blessed Sacrament. I won't genuflect. I won't get on my knees. Never, never, never. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is great. This is normal. He's the Pope." Yeah, yeah. Good on you. Good on you.
He will get on his knees to kiss the feet of foreign leaders.
Absolutely. He'll lick them shoes. Yeah.
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 Well, okay.
Go ahead.
So I think, yeah, like the ideal situation. So the ideal situation would be like sort of like an SSPX priest. Can you imagine an SSPX priest or bishop getting elected pope, where they would just come in and say, okay, Vatican II is invalid, the Novus Ordo is banned, and just come. But even if we're looking at a super trad pope, I had some ideas of what a super trad pope would do. Like we're talking like FSSP Institute.
Right. Yes.
So I think here's what needs to happen.
Right. Yes. That's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about the possibilities of victory and what that might look like. Go.
So the first day, Pope
Day 1,
Athanasius is elected Pope.
There you go. Now there's a good name.
Yeah, say it's a priest from the FSSP, or a very traditional priest like Schneider. Say Bishop Schneider, maybe.
Oh, sweet. Yes.
Yeah. So first action. You mentioned Pope St. Pius X. Reinstate the oath against modernism and require all clergy to take the oath.
Ding.
Require them immediately to take the oath. You have till the end of the day,
right,
to publicly pledge the oath against modernism.
I like it.
All right, so you give them like a week or a month, or give them a week. Whoever hasn't pledged the oath against modernism, resign.
I like it. And it'll be the prediction of Benedict. It'll be a smaller but more faithful church. But
sure, but a lot of people are just going to give lip service to it anyway.
Absolutely, yes. Because 90% of them just run with the big dog. That's how it is.
So you have them sign a document, the oath against modernism or something, and fax it to the Vatican. You don't get it, you inquire, say, hey, was this a mistake? Like, was there an error in sending this? And just make sure that they sent it. So then you have all those records on file. Well, if you get someone like Cardinal Marx or Cardinal Schonborn, or name like any of the, not any of the cardinals, but name a lot of them.
Name most of the cardinals.
Supich.
Yeah, and Tobin.
Yeah, and you get any of these people and they say anything. Mm-hmm. Anything out of line. LMNOP's okay. Like Cardinal Tobin had a pride mass. Okay.
Right.
You're out. You took the oath against modernism. Resign. You're no longer cardinal.
Well, you're only going to have to do that a few times. And you're going to reach people. Like, for example, Francis, he didn't make Becciu resign, but he took his red hat. See, and these guys, they are so into being cardinals. They just live. These anyone who became an archbishop just looks in the mirror and sees a cardinal. And of course, every cardinal who looks in the mirror sees the next pope. But these guys, when you get to that level, you are obviously an ambitious person. It's almost like the Barnhart axiom. The Barnhart axiom is that, and it applies to public office in America, anybody who wants to be a United States senator or a congressman is, by that very fact, disqualified from office.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, obviously it's not totally practical, but it is the reality. If you really want that, then there's something wrong with you. You have to be historically, a lot of times that happens in the conclave. They say, well, Joe, guess what? You're the next pope. The correct response is to go, and you actually have to be talked into it. They kind of beat you down. Say, vote again. No, we voted. You're it. You have to accept. No, do I have to accept? Well, we want you to accept, and we think you should. And we're not leaving until you do. And this has happened many times. It's like, for example, Benedict's favorite pope was Peter Celestine. This is way back in the time of Dante, and he was a hermit basically. And they're like, well, they couldn't come to any conclusions. They couldn't. And he said, let's make Celestine do it. It's like, yeah, he's not doing anything. He's a really holy guy. Yes, we need a holy pope. Go get him. And they drag him in. And they say, guess what? You're the new pope. And he's like, no. He's not happy, but he did it. And then, of course, he resigned apparently he screwed things up so badly, so fast, they couldn't get rid of him fast enough. And then Boniface came in, and Boniface, in the spirit of Francis, was like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And meanwhile, he's going back to his monastery. He just wants to be left alone. And it's like, nah, I'm throwing him in jail. And he does. And he dies in jail. And of course, Celestine, being a very holy man, he is a saint of the Catholic Church, said, well, I always wanted to be in a cell, and here I am. That's his quote. He literally said that. It's like, perfect. So anyway.
Yeah. So it'd be a busy first week, and
I love it. Yes.
I think to take it a step further, you could say the Cardinals quickly appoint some Catholic papal advisors.
Yes, there you go.
And have them go through public statements that were made by these cardinals, and any public statement that contains heresy, give them 24 hours to
rectify,
recant on that statement, and to clarify and correct it.
Yep.
Or that's also a resignation. And furthermore, with the cardinals, I think it will result in quite a few resignations. Actually, I don't even know if I'd give them a second chance. I might
yeah, I think you can't. It is you're the Pope, and Francis has set the tone. He does what he wants. He contradicts himself. He fires who he wants. He hires any perv he wants. So yeah, you're right. Go on, yes, knock him out. One strike. I like it. One strike.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess give them 24 hours because you really want to remake the College of Cardinals. Do we want it to be smaller? I don't know. Probably. But I don't think it really matters as long as they're Catholic.
Exactly. Exactly right. That's.
Yeah. So, you can see what you want to do. Now, I think that first week, again, is very busy. Immediately reform the Novus Ordo. So, I think that, for me personally, I would say ban it. But I'm not Pope, and I'm not going to be.
Right.
And even someone from the FSSP or Institute isn't going to immediately ban the Novus Ordo.
Wait a minute. Now, you probably didn't have a chance to watch episode 50 in the SSPX podcast.
I didn't.
No. Okay. Because this question comes up, and he says, now you're saying, this is what it's going to take to end the crisis in the church. And he basically says, there's no reforming the Novus Ordo. It is too different. It is too Protestant. It has to go. And it should. Now, you can't ban it in a week because, you've got to set up the replacement. Now, to me, the replacement should be something like basically the English translation in your missal of the Latin Mass, or the vernacular translation, to say. I mean, I think that's a good start. What those guys are going to do, they'll have to go out and get fiddleback vestments. They'll have to have prayers to the altar. They'll have to put in altar rails. It'll be like, they'll have to do it like today. Get
Well,
out there and get
so
those altar rails in.
yeah, well, that's another thing. You can have makeshift, like, I don't know about altar rails. You can have makeshift like kneelers. You can put up
Right.
kneelers for communion,
Yeah,
just to
absolutely.
function as communion rails.
Right.
Ban Eucharistic minister. I mean, you can
No
make
Eucharistic ministers. They're gone. They're gone. They're
So
out.
I think by what I'm saying, reform the Novus Ordo. What would you think about having an interim Latin Mass translated into English with lots of Latin?
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean by reform the Novus Ordo.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
no more of the My Little Pony during Mass.
Right.
No more piano.
No more optionitis. You don't get to, you get one choice. This is it. This is what you get to say. No bicycles in the or not the sacristy.
What, unicycles, right?
Well, there was a unicycle. There was a bicycle. No beach balls. No
liturgical
tangos.
dances.
No liturgical dancing. No tango dancing. Yeah, etc. etc. How many of these guys would leave the church pretty much immediately? I mean, seriously, a lot of priests would leave. And they'd be like, oh, no, I don't know that strange dead language. But as Benedict said, a smaller, more faithful church. That's what it's going to take. I mean, it's going to take something like that. Now, they didn't do all this in a day. They had to blow up, they had to take over Vatican II. And, then they had to start changing the Mass and the calendar and the sacraments. And this all took, basically, the basics got done by 1970, but adding in communion in the hand and altar girls, that all took a little longer. But, by 75, it was over. I mean, we're talking 10 years, and they're here, and we're in this church that we have today, sans the Latin Mass, and then what did the Latin Mass people have to do? We had to be the sneak, and I say we because that was not me, but our Latin Mass forebears had to be sneaky and underground and in the catacombs and find who would do it. They had to build back. They almost got nuked. It's like, and we are rapidly approaching that point again. There's all the nasty rumors about they're going to blow up the Fraternity and they're going to blow up the Institute of Christ the King. And everybody who follows this has followed that. We're going to put some guy from the Vatican in charge, and he's going to say, well, first you're going to do the Chrism Mass, and then they'll do it like they do it gradually, little bit by little bit, and then eventually they'll be doing clown masses.
Well, and that's another thing that you mentioned, the Fraternity, and the next pope, he could say, contact the Fraternity and the Institute and say, hey guys, you're gonna have some problems because we're gonna need a bunch of your guys as bishops. So appoint the young bishops.
Right. Exactly. That's one of the things that the new good pope could do is say appoint bishops to the Fraternity, to the Institute. That would be great.
Well, appoint a lot of those priests as diocesan bishops, though.
Well, that too. Yes,
and
absolutely.
So basically, it's going to end. I don't know if it would necessarily end it, but the thing is, like, we would need a lot of them to train priests in the Latin Mass. Absolutely. And we'd also need them to relearn what they were supposed to learn in the seminary.
Oh, okay. Here's something. Here's a desperation play for the Fraternity. This is one of the things I think they should do if this really happens. If the evil man from the Pope comes and says you're going to do this, I think they should. And I don't know how many people follow or remember what I say, and probably none. But not a big fan of the seminary system as it currently operates. The Orthodox get along, 3-4 years, you're done, you're out, you're a priest. It's they make it. They're trying to make it 7 years, and then they want to make it into an 8th year. It's like, really, and they make them, live apart from every, and there's all the pervness that has crept into the process. So what I think that the fraternity needs to do is just say, guess what? We have a bishop here. Everybody get up front and get ordained. All of them, every single one in there. You throw out the 3 or 4, the 10 or 20 guys. It's just like, nah, they're never going to be priests. Sorry, you're out. But before this whole thing comes down, if it's coming down, make them priest immediately. Steve, all of those guys. But seriously, they need to do that. They need to get, they can't just, although they will, they'll do, these guys are going to get so rolled. It's just horrific. I mean, they're like, oh, Pope Francis, we must obey. We've gone over, and, Brian has gone over very well about sola obedientia.
Yeah.
And I think that's a case of it coming up.
Yeah. Well, I think one point is like, you're taking all these hardline measures, which, by the way, I'm actually, I don't know what I see in the comments something, but I don't know how I was misinterpreted that I say ban the Novus Ordo, but it's not going to happen. Even if that's what I mean. Even if an FSSP priest is elected pope, he's not going to ban the Novus Ordo. So I'm not going to live in that world. I'm not going to get to that.
Well, every society priest lives in that world.
They do, but they're not.
Just saying,
the chances of them being elected pope are even less than the FSSP or Institute. So,
yes, exactly right.
It's the Novus Ordo is going to have to be reformed before it's banned.
Yeah,
I mean that's just a reality.
I guess so.
But anyway, I guess people are listening and they might be thinking, well, with this, the bad guys can do the same thing. But if you look at if you look at the SSPX, though, they've retained the faith, and I think that's a testament to the Holy Ghost. Because the thing is, like, you have the Catholics and you have the non-Catholics. Non-Catholics are on the show right now.
Yep.
But the Holy Ghost isn't going to let the church fail.
The church is okay. What did our former president always say? Winning. Guess what? We're going to win. Now, this is Mr. Negative. Am I not Mr. Negativity? Mr. Say yes, because it's true. Yeah, I am. We're going to win. We're going to win. Now, it's going to be like building a cathedral. Cathedrals do not get built by the guy who started them. They get built by the next generation or 2 generations. Moses didn't get to the promised land, but Joshua did. So, how's this going to work? Well, we know a few things. These guys are old. And this has been, many people have mentioned, these guys are old. They're aging out. And they're going to be replaced by new, younger men who want holiness. And they're not getting that in the pick your own mass world of the Novus Ordo. So Susan of the parish council is going to die soon, and God love her, she's gone. She's going to be off the table. Parent Ryan is going to do one or two things. Parent Ryan is either going to apostatize totally, or he's going to get arrested for perving or stealing. So those guys are going to be gone.
Or he's going to leave to become a Buddhist.
Right. Well, because he's more ecumenical than a lot of the other guys. I like that. Yes, I think that's very good. Yes. One of the sort of a Biden Buddhist. Yeah, whatever that is.
One of the St. Louis Jesuits quit the Jesuits to become a Buddhist. But
right.
So
I
mean, it's it's something that's more common than I don't know. Maybe it's common among the Jesuits. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
But I
Yeah.
think so. I
And
do want to say that there are a lot of good people that attend the Novus Ordo, a lot of good Catholics, and if their Novus Ordo
we were
is
two of them.
yeah, well, if a lot of their Novus Ordo is made more reverent, then I think a lot of the attendees are going to be like, "This is weird. Like, what's the difference?" But then you get a good well.
Wait a minute. Let's talk about that for a second. If you're at now, the parish I was at wasn't the worst parish in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, when you go in there for your Sunday mass, and everyone's going, "Hey, how you doing? Did you see the big bowl game yesterday? Did you see? Oh, and Marge went out and got this new dress." That change alone is huge. You have to go in there and say, and you've got to have the priest behind you, and very politely and very nicely, you have to tell to everybody, "Shut up, pray, or get out." So
Yeah,
that would be an enormous change in one parish. So,
yeah,
we're not talking. So, to get to the Reverend Novus Ordo from where most people are is a huge. People underestimate how big the chasm is.
but the thing is, the good Catholics,
Mm-hmm.
they would be confused by the changes, but then they would like if you get a good priest to explain it and to discuss the rationale behind it, like, okay, why are
Yes.
we going to communion and kneeling on these kneelers
Mm-hmm.
to receive communion on the tongue?
Right.
And I think a lot of them can get behind it, and they're like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. If you explain, well, it's a traditional practice of the church and it's more reverent, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't believe in the real presence of the Eucharist, and so this is why we're doing that.
Yes.
Lay people's hands are not consecrated, and just you go down the list, and then like, why is the priest not facing me whenever he's praying? Well, it's because
He's
the
praying to
priest,
God the same as you
yeah,
are.
exactly, and that's what the tabernacle also needs to be,
Front and
behind the
center.
altar,
Yeah.
front and center, because it's the center of the liturgy.
Yes.
And so I think if you just do a little catechesis with these people, they can get behind the changes and say, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I think they
And
find
and if they get all cranky and they decide to go down the road and they find the same or similar thing happening in Saint Otherworld, then they're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Well, go across town. No, it's all the same. It's all Catholic. You mean I can't talk about my sports scores?
yeah,
It's
after mass.
yeah, exactly.
and and there's going to be more community. You
Right.
stick around after mass, and
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, if like you say, it would help to have good priests. Absolutely. Francis doesn't
yes,
worry. Francis doesn't worry about that with his changes. He just throws them down like this is what's going to be. Get over it.
well, and you talked about people going down the street, and the ones that are confused, but they really are genuinely pursuing the truth,
Right.
they'll figure it out. But
Exactly.
there are some people who are stuck in the what should I say the Marxist mindset.
Yeah.
They're the
And they
ones that really hate what the church stands for. Some of them may be demonically possessed, um, and you see that on Twitter. So a lot of these PhDs, they're awful. Like there's nothing Catholic about what they say. There's nothing Catholic about what they learned in their Catholic colleges and what they're teaching, and
right.
they're awful. But
Yeah.
these people, what they're going to do, they're going to go down the street to what we've been joking about for like the past year. They're going to the body shop down the street where they're getting
Yes.
a independent priest
Right.
who has dissented from the Catholic faith and is no longer would have a canonical status, and they're going to have their auto body shop masses where they're going to hold
Absolutely.
hands and wear their rainbows and sing songs by the St. Louis Jesuits and Marty Haugen, and it's not even going to be a Catholic mass because who cares? There's not. What's the point of communion? And they're basically going to splinter off and become a Protestant sect and fade away in time.
Right.
And that's the impact of the Holy Ghost, because if you saw that with tradition, we were pushed out. Well, and I consider myself a traditionalist. I was in SSPX in the 1970s. I wasn't even alive, but
That's right.
the traditionalists were pushed out of the church, and so they were having their masses in hotel rooms and basements and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The SSPX was doing their thing, and what happened? It didn't fade away. That's what would have happened if it was a false if it was a false prompting. They would have faded away, but they didn't. They preserved the Latin Mass.
Yep.
And then Pope Benedict unleashed it in 2007, and then just exploded. And it shows the truth. We have the truth, and so the bad guys can do the same thing, but theirs isn't going to last. They're basically going to merge with the Methodists or the
Episcopalians,
or the Unitarian Universalists, the ones that don't believe in anything.
you know what? They believe in paying their bills. Now, if you're a member, I found this out. I just find it fascinating. Now, if you're a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church and you're registered, they don't put envelopes out. They don't do collections. What they do is every quarter they take all their expenses, divide them by the number of registered parishioners, and send you a bill. And you pay it, or you don't come back. That's how they roll. I think it's a pretty interesting way of going about it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what they do.
Well, you got to make a commitment, because these people I don't know, maybe I don't want to call them the Novus Ordo sect, but the Marxists, because there's some good people in the Novus Ordo.
Absolutely.
The Marxists, they will eventually join the Buddhists or worship their communism or whatever.
And, well, they'll be off in the world of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Frankly,
are they already?
Yeah, but they'll make it official. They'll make it official. They'll become a bunch of Dr. Feelgoods, and that's what they'll be.
It'd be funny to see, especially if they lost. Right now, they have the property, the church properties.
Yes.
But if they were kicked out, because if you're removed from the priesthood, kicked out, I don't want to say like laicized, but suspended or terminated.
Yeah.
I guess canceled. It would be laicized, huh?
Well, you can be laicized,
because
of course.
You wouldn't want these guys on diocesan payroll taking a wasted dollar. Wasting dollars.
Yes. Yes. Well, once you're a priest, the bishop owes you a living. That's how it works.
So is that canon law? Is that like?
Yes, that is canon law.
So
he has to support you. He has to support you financially. They can reduce it to almost nothing.
Yeah.
But and if you accept you anything, but laicization is an illusion, much like divorce. You're a priest forever. I could go to my favorite former priest, laicized, Just Jim, the man who married me and my wife, and I could go to him in extremis for, confession or for the last rites. I mean, I could, and he could licitly and validly give them because he's a priest, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't. The Pope can't even. The Pope. Although the Pope just changed the law, just like this week, the Pope changed the law that said, a priest is entitled to a trial all the way through. And he's like, unless the Pope says you're out, and then you're out. And
really,
yeah, and it isn't quite that draconian because there's someone appointed to look after your case, but there's like a timer. It's like 30 days or something, and you do your case, and then the Pope decides you're out or in, or whatever. Yeah, that's it's just another of the little stink bombs that Bergoglio has left. But it does help Pope Good Guy when he comes in, because all these rules that, allow Pope Bergoglio to do whatever the heck he wants will be there for the next guy.
Wow,
And
and they could use that against the SSPX.
well, like, just what and do what? What are they going to do to the SSPX? The only thing they can do to them is excommunicate them.
Been
And
there,
that's the
done
only
that,
thing.
right?
They did that once, and then if
Look
they
how that
have
worked
to,
out.
yeah, exactly. So
But yeah, all right. So you can't. So you have to financially support these guys, even if you forcibly like
yeah.
laicize them or suspend them. I
Well,
guess
like I say,
you can
like I
make
think
life
there's one
miserable.
guy who gets $400 a month, you know? So he has to
Yeah,
go out and
so
get a job.
you've got to make some other
Yes,
income.
yes.
But yeah, you could make life miserable for them, like
Like a
set
lot
it.
of like a lot of Novus Ordo priests are really miserable right now, running through their 4 parishes, living by themselves, uh, not being backed up by in anything they do by the bishop when he even takes their call. Yeah, yeah. I guess you could make them even more miserable.
Well, banning them from public ministry.
Yeah, yeah. That's bad. Yeah, they would hate that too.
I mean, the ones that don't like, I don't know. I can't
Oh
get
yeah,
inside the mind of a
these
liberal.
guys, these guys want to do it. There was that guy that in our diocese that he left, and he said he was going to continue his ministry, not as a priest, mind you, but he's going to continue his ministry. It's not a ministry if you're not a priest. It's something else. It's you being a good guy if that's how you feel about it. But
I
teaching,
don't know.
sanctifying, governing, none of those things are happening. Just like me, I'm not. I may be flapping my gums, but I'm not teaching. I certainly can't sanctify, and I'm not governing. So take it for what it's worth. Um,
I don't know. I think I run a great YouTube ministry, right?
you
I
do
mean,
well.
people
Hold on,
try to tell me it's ministry.
well, that's because they're being Protestant. You run an apostolate.
Postulate, yeah.
Yes,
I
using
don't
Catholic
think
terms.
so.
No,
I
well, I
don't
don't.
think so. I
That's
just
great.
I talk about the news, and hopefully, if you pick some stuff up, that's great. If
Okay,
you learn
so
something
let me ask:
better.
Are there? I can't see the comments. Are there any comments?
Yeah, let's get to some of the comments here. All right. If the next pope were actually to repeal Vatican II, honestly believe you'd witness the satanic media become Catholic overnight in defense of the Novus Ordo.
I like it. He's
Um,
right.
I, you know, I, they might
Yes.
take the side of some of the far leftists. That's true.
No, I think he's absolutely right. I think he's dead on. They'd be like,
Well, and
"Oh, that's not Catholic. It's schismatic, even though it's the Pope doing it."
I think if you get a Catholic pope, they're gonna hate him though, because they were kind of like okay with GP2.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but then Benedict was elected, and they were like, "Oh, he's old and rigid," and they didn't like him.
No, 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 no.
And then Francis was elected, and
Oh,
he
he
gets
was
voted Time Magazine's Man of the Year.
he was time, and of course he was the Person of the Year for the
Well,
Advocate, the gay magazine. Um, he was, he was.
so I mean, it's just as soon as the Pope's elected, you're gonna have some media reactions, and if there's any bit of now the one thing I can say is Africans. So if there's even like a remotely traditional African, the
And there
media is going to be
are.
like, "Oh, what do we do?" Because he's like,
Yeah. Oh man.
because
Well, they'll give him the Clarence Thomas treatment. They're going to beat him up when he gets in, ignore him as much as possible while he's there.
but
That's
if he's enforcing the Catholic faith, they cannot ignore him.
that's true.
That's the thing. It's going to
That
be
is
like
true.
it'd be like another Trump situation.
And it'll be just the opposite. Yes, it will. And it'll be just the opposite of old Berkey going to Cyprus, where there are 3 Catholics and only 2 of them bothered to show up, and everyone's out there screaming, "Heresy! Hereticos! Hereticos! Hey, I came to apologize. We don't care. Get out." And you'll have the new African Pope, say that guy on the C9. He's going to go back to Congo, and it's going to be an enormous sea of people saying "Papa, Papa, Papa." Oh man, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. I mean, because you'll be like as far as the eye can see, like kind of like with that bogus beach mask that Bergy had, where they desecrated the Eucharist, and they had like 58 million Eucharistic ministers, and it was just horrific. So
right.
does the Pope make it to the next World Youth Day? That's 2023.
Well, that's the end of the synod too.
Oh yes. So, oh man.
So we might have a different Pope.
And then we'll have a different synod, because they'll I think that will be memory hold very quickly. What synod? What? Oh yeah. We're going to wrap that up. Just like the year of St. Joseph, that just ended, by the way. Not that anyone cares.
Well, yeah, I don't think there were a whole lot of people really talking about it, and they didn't do anything.
Well,
there wasn't a whole lot that was done, because the Vatican doesn't like the stuff that St. Joseph did. He was masculine. He was,
worked with his hands.
A hard worker.
Yeah. He was a terror. He was the terror of demons. Yeah, they don't like that. Yeah. He was quiet and served. They got no time for that. They have to be loud and in your face, and and let me just say this about that. Everyone's like, I hope people are thinking about what winning would look like. And, we need to be as sneaky as the Vatican II people were, and we need to be working toward our goals of blowing up this current church and setting in, and taking us back to that far, far distant land called 1961, which is still in, that's in living memory. Ask your parents. Ask them where they were in 1961. They can tell you. Oh yeah, I was doing this, I was doing that. Yeah, it's living memory. And the church was basically the same from the Council of Trent till 1961. That's a lot longer than the 52 years of this Babylonian captivity that we've been in. And it's certainly a heck of a lot longer than the 8 years of, I hate Catholics, a Pope, I hate Catholics. Oh, don't call me the Vicar of Christ, please. No, I'm not that.
Well, we'll get to that here in a second.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Here. We're getting back to the beginning. Is Brett imitating Boris? Yeah, there we go. Michael Virus. All right.
Absolutely, yes.
There's a comment. Well, all right, I'll show it, but I'm not going to read it. You can read it.
Ask my wife.
Yes. All right. I'm scrolling through. That's enough. Okay.
What?
And then there's one about Parent Ryan.
Oh.
They're tickled pink with
Bergoglio. Patty, what's up?
And I must have skipped over one of them. What was I looking for? There's one we need to put from the SSPX. Yes.
Well, there's one.
Oh, here we go.
Uh-huh. Excuse me, but the Pope is ecclesiastical and should be coronated. Yes, he should. But Pope Paul VI made sure he was the last guy. He threw away the crown. You can go see it. It's at the Basilica in D.C.
Well, that's what a future Pope could do, is bring it back.
Absolutely.
And make himself the monarch, and do what a Pope should do.
Right. Be an actual Vicar of Christ, who is the King of the world, after all. He's Satan is having his day, but Christ is eternal. So there you go. But yeah, I don't know. So is there any other fine comments? I mean, I'm no Ryan.
No,
I'm like the stand-in. I get it.
Well, you know what though, Brett, you're a leading papal critic.
I am indeed a papal critic. I am indeed a papal critic. I don't know. You have to lead. There have to be people following you to be a leading papal critic. But
I think you are.
But I will say this, and I say this every time I'm on. Tune into the John Son of Thunder show if you want to know what's going to happen a couple months from now, because he's on it. This program is on it. Ryan is on it. This is where we're going. You just got to get your mind right about it. What's the current thing is what's a conspiracy theorist? That's what's the difference between conspiracy theory and reality? 6 months. So that's what's going on,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, in this case, it's what, 3, because February's coming soon, and the FSSP and the Institute are going to be taken down.
Well,
they're done.
Yes. Well, that happens. Yes, but hasn't happened yet. That's the fun part of this. Is a lot like Kremlinology. You don't have any solid reports. You have what people say, like the quote that just came out about Archbishop Lefebvre was given by Benedict to 2 guys in the same room with him. Do we know their names? No, we don't. But they said it happened, and I don't doubt that they did. It has the ring of truth to it. Benedict may be many things that I don't like, but dumb is not one of them. I think he's easily. I think he easily fooled himself, and still fools himself to this day because he thinks he's a pope. And he plays this little game of I never said I was. He doesn't. He gives us apostolic. I'm not even going to go over the list.
Yeah.
But
Well, and we don't even know what Benedict thinks. What Gans mind thinks.
Yes, because as Frank Walker has so brilliantly observed, we know what the Benedict bot thinks, and that is Gans wine, and the other people who report what Benedict says, because when was the last time someone put a microphone and a camera on him? I mean, they take pictures, they report what he has said, but no, he hasn't spoken for himself in, I don't know, 8 years or so, or thereabouts. I mean, and every time Benedict gives evidence of being a pope, there's a deafening silence coming from the Vatican, the actual Vatican, not the little house in the garden. But they have nothing to say. It's like, he's an old man. If he wants to pretend he's a pope, what do we care? But
Brett is our leader.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure he is. Yeah,
well, the one thing I will say about Brett is that you're probably, you read the news the second. Let's see here. You're the second most obsessed with the Catholic news out of the people that I know, Frank Walker being the first.
Absolutely, Frank. Yeah, baby. Yeah, I'm like the junior Frank Walker, as it were. But where do? I just go to Frank. God love him. I don't even know how he deals with all that. It's like, I mean, the physical difficulty of putting that all together. It's him and his wife, from what I understand, who don't do everything, but just dealing with the reality, and because it's so negative, and it's just so negative, and so many bad things happen all the time.
I think with him though, it's got to be sort of like numbing, because you're looking at so much news that you're like, okay, Pope Francis said this today. There we go. Let's make up a headline, and then move on to Catholic News Agency and check Crux and check all these other. See what's going on Twitter. Hope someone tagged me on Twitter and like.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, it's and he and he puts out his 5-day-a-week podcast, which is about 10 minutes a day. On the stumbling block, it's he's a beast. He is a beast. There's no doubt about it. And he's solid. He is solid as the day is long. The person I compare him to is a blogger, so it's not the same kind of workload at all. But I compare him to Mundabor, who is just so solid, so terribly solid. He just goes on. Just, you want the Catholic take on this? Here it is, and he's not afraid to throw bombs. He's the man that calls Bergoglio the evil clown. And I remember reading that years ago, going, "Wow, that's really." And then a year later, I was going, "That's really appropriate." But
Well, we called him what? Vicar of
oh, well,
Sixth
that's Frank
Commandment.
Walker. That's Frank Walker. Since he decided he wasn't the vicar of Christ, that was a historical title. That's where that comes from. Francis called that a historical title, not applying to him. So yeah, Frank calls him the vicar of dirt, the vicar of the virus, whatever. He's the vicar of whatever. He's the vicar of addiction. He told addicts. It's just the craziness. Well, you already spoke about the Opati, uh, and that craziness sacrificed on the altar of hypocrisy. Oh, is that what they're doing in the Santa Marta? Is that what that little Cranmer table is? The altar of hypocrisy? Yeah. That's just nuts. Even his allies have got to be going, kidding me. I mean, that was just.
And he's the vicar of not accepting resignations either. So
Oh
I mean,
yeah, which
if you look at
really surprised.
hypocrisy, it's like,
And
oh well, you know what? The media are making a big deal about this, but I'll choose to accept this resignation because the media are hypocrites. Oh,
yeah,
I'm not
that's our
so sure.
boy.
And by the way, the Sixth Commandment's not that important
Not
either,
that
so don't worry about that.
No. Yeah,
All
how
right.
many, and as I think you observed, how many billions of dollars have the Catholic Church paid out because of violations of the Sixth Commandment?
Ooh, yeah.
About 4 or 5 billion. That's just in America. Wait till now other countries don't have the strange legal system that we do, but they'll be paying out too.
Well,
But
kind of,
but the but communist China has plenty of money. That's another thing that needs to go, by the way. The whole communist China, George Soros panhandling for money thing has to go. Has to go. It's
yeah.
one of the great, well, especially the Chinese thing. It's one of the great evils of our day. If anyone wants to say, "Oh, well, it's so terrible what's happening to us. It's a chastisement. What have we done to deserve it?" Well, that's one of the things. I mean, we could go down the laundry list, but selling out 12 million Catholics um, to the great helmsman Xi, well, that's one of them.
It's
That's
pretty
one of
bad.
them. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Or I can't say that he totally ignores the ongoing persecution, real persecution that's happening in Nigeria. He's mentioned it 3 or 4 times. I think 4. But just I don't know if I sent. No, I didn't send it to you. But there was a statement from Aid to the Church in Need, and it was about this poor Nigerian priest who was kidnapped. He was kidnapped. He was held for ransom with like 5 parishioners. 3 other parishioners tried to sneak up and free them. They got captured. They brought them in front of the priest and they shot them in the head. 1, 2, 3. You know, that's persecution. Are we there yet? No. But we're getting there. As you probably observed, that hit the news today that the statue of our blessed lady was violated and vandalized at the Basilica in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a gate, there's a fence, and he climbed over. He didn't wear a mask, and he took his little hammer and he broke off the nose. Yeah, so
Yeah. And
it's
there's
coming.
security cameras too. Do they
Yeah,
have a hired security person?
which are they have the security people. They're all former thugs. They're all former. They're ex-cons.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's Rossi. That's Rossi. The drunk driver, the gay guy, alleged. The drunk driving's not alleged. That actually happened. He's allegedly gay and he's allegedly on the take. These are all allegations that you could read about in the American Spectator by George Newmeyer. He did quite a series on Rossi, who of course who succeeded my boy Bransfield. That's, of course, he learned all that stuff from Bransfield. But, you know.
Yeah, lots of stuff to clean up, right? But anyway,
Yes, yes.
this has been an
Yeah.
interesting video. So
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
yeah, just a lot of good stuff to talk about, and join us
And like
again
I
next
say,
time.
we're going to win. We may not get to the promised land, but we're going to win. It's going to be a smaller but more faithful church. And if we don't live to see it, our progeny will. That's the important thing.
Yeah, someone will. Someone will live to see it, maybe.
Yeah, of course they will.
Well, I mean, as long as the world doesn't end.
Well, if the world ends, then we win.
We will. Yeah, we win.
That's
That's in the book of
good.
Revelation.
Skip to
So,
the end of the book.
all right. Hey, thanks
Absolutely.
everyone for joining us on the live chat and live stream. Thank you very much, Brett. Always great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. We are the laity.
And we will not be silent.